Yeah, James, please, can you come in with a few thoughts?
Yeah, sure. So OpenG2P is, for those who don't know, is an initiative that began in Sierra Leone, learned some lessons from working through the Ebola crisis and payments to clinicians there. And then as COVID started, a new framework was established to build it into a better sort of G2P, all government payments, including payroll, but so payroll to clinicians, but also social protection programs, including unconditional cash transfer. So it's a framework, but it's also a set of building blocks. So the concept of building blocks is there as well. I'm also part of the GovStack team on the payments building block specifications work. So there's already overlap in understanding requirements. At least there's a couple of connection points like myself. OpenG2P is supported by both MIFOS, which you've heard mention of already, and MOSIP, which is the identity provider. And it's also seeking additional engaged partners globally, and is seeking to bring in different kinds of players. So I would comment that the use cases here and the ideas here about how to use some of these building blocks together is very useful and very consistent with how OpenG2P is thinking about leveraging existing DPGs. One of the key things for OpenG2P is the payment hub, which was developed by MIFOS, which is an enterprise-grade payment gateway. And just to sort of emphasize this point, enterprise-grade is often a high level of requirements gathering and development and testing, and it's rather complex to get that right. So when you do that, you have to build in a lot more, strength in your solution. The payment hub was natively developed to connect Mojaloop to MIFOS, and I was curious why that was not mentioned here. I do understand that the payment hub is rather complex to set up. You have to know a lot about Helm charts and Kubernetes and Docker, and I know that it's not as easy as some other things. It's somewhat in the same realm as sort of establishing your own instance of Mojaloop. So rather complex, but wondered if that was the reason why it didn't get used, or apparently didn't get used. So because the payment hub is at the core of the OpenG2P framework, I think what we would look at is whether what is the right way to do the connections between openIMIS and account management. So MIFOS handles account management. I saw that in one of the demos. That seems like a good use of MIFOS, a good configuration. And I was the original creator of MIFOS, and Ed Cable on here is the co-founder of the MIFOS initiative over the past 10 years, and I started 20 years ago on this. So it's a long journey, which is another point I would make, which is these DPGs, they will take a long time to fully mature. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And I think for OpenG2P, as it evolves, we would want to establish, some working relationships across these different initiatives, including more integration with GovStack, and this notion that Max was talking about in terms of, APIs that can be exposed and map the domain of such things as social protection or clinician insurance or patient insurance and those kinds of things. I don't know if there's other comments maybe Ed would make, or maybe I'm talking at too high of a level, but please go ahead, Ed, I guess.
No, thanks, James. That was all super helpful. I think the only additional point I'd add is, we'd be eager to continue conversations with Ue and others around use cases that could be brought to bear utilizing the OpenGDP framework and some of the existing building block components that are there that James had noted around MIFOS for account management, a payment hub for the orchestration integration, a MOSIP for digital identity. And we have, pointing back to Max's presentation, as part of OpenGDP, we've not done the integration yet, but we've designed out how Xroad could be introduced as that data intermediation layer as part of the OpenGDP framework to help bring in different pieces of information across various programs and ministries to help in that enrollment and validation process that Max walked through on the screen. So I do think there is good opportunity to identify how openIMIS and the other digital public goods can be brought together with OpenGDP as a connective tissue to help tie together multiple digital public goods for use case of an unconditional cash transfer. So thanks, James, for giving more background and context on OpenGDP.